Hi there and welcome. These are your handover videos for your 2025 Swiss Sprite Alpine 2. These are a basic walkthrough on how to set up and operate the caravan as if you were coming on or off site. Starting off first, we have your black hitch head here and silver lever. Now you have to have the silver lever pulled up like so to then be able to wind down the jockey wheel onto the tow ball. Occasionally it won't be able to stand up by itself. In that case, just lubricate the pins at the back. However, when you wind that down, what will happen is it will push down, push up this red button and expose a green ring. You have a breakaway cable just here. Now legality states if you have an eye point, it has to be used. If not, wrap it around the tow bar. Handbrake is just here. To disengage, just press down, and to engage, flick up. It does come up with a fair bit of force. Jockey wheel just here, used to level the caravan, and it travels inside the A-frame. You also have 13-pin electric, so if you do have 7-pin adaptation, make sure to bring yourself an adapter. However, you may lose a couple of functions such as ALCO ATC. 2 points either side and 2 points at the back, we have inserts for your legs. Now the caravan itself will come with a leg winder, or alternatively you can get yourself a 19mm drill bit and a power drill just to make it that bit quicker. Do not attempt to jack up or level the caravan using your legs, they're simply used for stabilisation. Now we're using test equipment today, so I have a red propane gas bottle just here. I'd always recommend propane over butane, and connected to that is a black gas hose. Black gas hoses will run for 5 years. That connects from the bottle to this regulator. Now what you want to do is hand tighten that as much as possible and then just nip it up using a spanner. You don't want it ridiculously tight as there is an O-ring inside the actual hose. Too much pressure on that can cause it to crack and break. Moving along this side, starting off first, we have your flow. Your flow is used to get clean air in and out of your boiler. Don't have to do anything with this except make sure it's nice, clean and tidy. Got a test acroll full of clean drinking water and your water pump. Now to remove this pump, you press in on the trigger and then pull out. Now, I would recommend occasionally lubricating these seals as they can be a bit stiff. You have this blue cap to go over the top of the acroll to ensure no nastiness gets in, and then at the bottom we have your strainer. Now it's crucial that the strainer sits at the bottom of the barrel to allow the maximum potential of water to come in. However, they do have the tendency, these hoses, to curl up. My recommendation would be getting some PVC tubing, just so it's always nice and straight. And as you just heard there, when you're pushing in, you want to hear it click first. Then we have your battery locker. This example does have a battery fitted. The terminals connect on top using a 12 or 13mm spanner. We then have the plug-in for the mains just here, which also has a little cutout, and the point behind it for the motor mover ignition. Motor mover will be gone over on collection. We then have 2 points where your wastewater is going to come out of. You'll need some 28.5mm waste pipe to feed into a waste master. Then lastly, we have your toilet function. So this is your cassette. To remove it, press up on the orange handle and pull out towards you. Now this handle does also extend out and up. It could be used similar to a carry-on suitcase. What you'll want to do is twist this head to the side, open up this cap like so. Then what you'll want to do is tilt, and at the same time as tilting, continually pressing that then button. Then, once you've done that, my recommendation is to open up this compartment, feed in some fresh water, give it a bit of a shake after shutting it all up, and again tilting and venting. Then on this cap here, we have measurements in both imperial and metric, and that's for your blue chemical. Blue chemical goes into there, twist the head back to the side, and then push in the cassette so that the orange handle sits behind the white teeth. Now with regards to the actual toilet flush, the toilet flush is all operated through the acroll itself. It's using that same water, so it gets pushed over to there. You may see on some models there's like a little cap here. This one just doesn't have it. The caravan itself will be fully drained off before you leave with it. Then underneath your right hand side seat just here, we have all of this, so I wouldn't recommend storing anything under here. You have your boiler, which you can also access by lifting up this panel. we have your two flow jets here, which is what's going to pull through the water to the boiler. And then we have your drain valve facing in the upright position as it is now. That is draining off any residual water that is in the system. This is also how you will collect the caravan. November to March, have it up permanently unless you're actively using the caravan, and anytime you come off site, give the caravan a drain off as well. You don't want water in the system when it's cold, as it may freeze the pipes, and you don't want water in the system whilst travelling, as it can slosh about and damage the internals. So when you come to use it, flick it down like so. This black box is the equivalent of your brain box for your motor mover. So when you turn that red key, this will flash up and isolate the power into this box. You have this silver box on the side, which is the equivalent to your battery charger. It's not the equivalent, it is your battery charger. And then we have your trips and fuses, so you can see all your fuses in the correct position, as well as your trips there as well. I'd always recommend carrying some extra fuses across the van. We then have heating and hot water and charger both illuminated, showing that they're both working. A reverse polarity button just here if you ever go abroad, and a complete system shutdown button. Press that in, nothing inside the caravan is able to operate. Now if you do need some more information on your trips and fuses, you can pull down this panel, tells you a bit more, or have a look inside your book packs. This here is the newer shape Swift panel. So this is all touchscreen here, and you have a couple of different selections on the front. The first one is going to be lighting. So you have a dimmer here, which allows you to dim down the lights gradually and going up and down. You then have a light here for the entry door, which you can see should be just here that it lights up. And then you also have awning light. So press awning light, you can go to the outside and you can see that's on. So you have a couple of different selections for the light. Next to that we have the power setting, which shows battery charging, currently bringing in 14.2 volts, 14.1, and that the current is around about 1 amp. It will sort of go up and down, but that's the same with any sort of battery. Then this one shows your car battery. As we're not plugged into car, it's not going to show anything. Then it shows the current and where it's currently going to, which is going to be the battery on the caravan. As I'm plugged into mains, the mains is going to trump the solar panel. The solar panel itself as well is only sort of like it's not so much a charger, it's more keep the battery at a constant level. We then have pump. All you have to do is press in on that pump button just there. Make sure your drain valve's in the correct position. Come over to your tap and open it up. Now, what you may see to start off with is a couple of coughs and splutters. However, after that, you're after a nice steady continuous stream for around about 30 seconds. I would recommend pulling it on all the taps that you're planning on using, as well as the shower if you're wanting to use that. You want about 30 seconds. You also want to check on hot and cold. As I currently don't have the hot water set up, it's just going to give me coughs and splutters. So I'm just going to keep it on cold for now. If there is continual airlocks across the caravan, check your drain valve, check your pump, and check that the Acrol's full of water. You may need to completely drain off the system first and then re-pull through the water. However, that's around about 30 seconds. You will then hear that the boiler is then pulling back water from the Acrol to fill itself up. Then, when you come to drain off, first pressing on pump to turn it off, come over to your drain valve and flick it up, and that's going to drop the water directly onto the floor. And then what I'd also recommend doing is opening up the tap to let out any residual water from there. Then we have environment, which is going to tell you internal temperature, internal humidity, external temperature. We then have settings just here, which you can sort of flick through just so you can have a look. You've got a Bluetooth pairing function, and then just a few other little bits there. You also have the time just here, and it shows that leisure battery is charging and there isn't an onboard tank fitted. I can then press for the clock setup just here. And then when you want to turn this off, all you have to do is press in on the button just there. Then just here we have your Truma control panel. You have your back button, you have a dial, which is also a select button. It shows the time, which it isn't 13 minutes past midnight. You can select that in the settings, and it shows that mains is plugged in. So press in and you come to your main home screen. So first up, we have the caravan with the thermometer in it. Pressing on this, and this is for the internal temperature. Starts at 5 degrees and goes all the way up to 30. Now if I want to select something, I press in. Then you'll see on the top, flame comes on to show that heating is currently on, and the previous settings come on. Next to that, I have the water temperature, which is either off, eco, which will get the water temperature to about 40 degrees, hot, which is about 60, or boost. Now what boost does, it prioritizes heating the water over heating the actual caravan, and that lasts for about 30 minutes. After those 30 minutes, it will then drop itself back down to eco. If I do not press in on the dial to select, it does not come up on the top row. We then have the energy source, which is either gas, mixture of gas and 1 kilowatt, mixture and gas of 2 kilowatts, strictly electric with 1 kilowatt, or strictly electric with 2. So you've got the choice of gas mains or both. We then have fan speed, which is either eco or high. Eco is nice and steady, high is a lot more vigorous. However, if you do not have the heating set on, you go back over to the fan. If it's a fairly hot day like it is today, you can have the vent setting. Now what vent does, using your series of funnels pretty much, it will just push through air with no temperature, so you can have all your windows open, bring in some nice fresh air. It's not so much aircon as it is just a upgraded fan. We then have a timer for when you'd like the heating and hot water to come on. So you first input the hours then minutes to start, and then the hours then minutes to end. We then have the correct time, which it is going to be a 24-hour clock. Again, hours then minutes. And then we have settings, so you either have offset, temperature, brightness, 24-hour clock, language, index, or reset. I'm not going to go through this, as we have set this to what we believe the most user-friendly panel to use. However, if you'd like to have a look inside your book pack, then please do so. Now, as you may have seen at the start, this panel goes to grey when not interacted with in a bit of time. However, it will still show a couple of numbers on the front to show you that the panel is on. What you'll want to do when you come off site is press and hold in to turn this off, and it will turn it completely off, because you want to do that, as otherwise you have to go through a reset, which will take 15 minutes before you can even use the panel. Other bits to note is that the water takes around about 30 to 40 minutes to fully heat up. And apart from that, that's all good. Just here we have your hob grill and oven, all of which operates on gas, minus the electric plate. Electric plate, spin it to whatever mark and it will get to temperature. Everything else, press in the dial, twist it to the side and press in your igniter. Now, it may be a case that when you come to use it, that these will push up and then cut off, or they may just take a while to cut in. That is natural, that is the gas making its way through the system. This is what it looks like when they're all lit. As you can see, hob all nice and lit. And it's going to be the same concept for your grill. As you can see, both sides nice and lit. And finally, your oven. Now make sure as well that these trays do not intrude on the igniter, so press that in. And there you can see that all nice and lit there. So, only other real thing to note is that if you're travelling with a gas bottle, make sure the bottle itself is off. You also need to travel with this glass sheet down, but don't put it down until all burners are cold to the touch. Then here we have your fridge freezer. To turn it on, press and hold in using this button. It will flash up and go to its most recent memory, which in this case is gas. Now for gas, I'd recommend running through the hob grill and oven first to ensure that it's all coming through correctly. And then what you may hear is a gradual tick in. Now when you're selected on gas, that is it. That's all you have to do. It will ignite itself. You have these 3 buttons. This is a select, but it also flashes up what you currently set on. And then you have a backwards and forwards. So, ooh, there we go. Call my phone, there we go. Press and hold in on the select button and it will begin to flash up. There we go. So you can select either gas, A, which stands for auto, which automatically chooses the best source, mains, or 13 pin electric. That is not leisure battery, that is only 13 pin. So for today, let's select A, and then we have the amount of power coming in. So 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5. 5 being the most powerful, so it is going to chill it the quickest. To select, press in. As you can see, A has selected mains. Now, when the fridge is on, there's going to be a couple of lights on inside just here. Now, it will take around 4 hours for the fridge to fully chill. So you can either chill it the night before, or you can chill it whilst towing. However, a few bits to note: don't try and turn on the fridge with the door open, as it can trip itself out, and always select what is available, as again, it will trip itself out. This blue light will stay on constant. However, to turn the fridge off, press and hold in there. And just here, we have your toilet function. So all you have to do, press in the button, and what you will see is that water gets pushed through, which is also the water that is coming out of the pump system. Then to remove the waste, press away on the handle, opens up the hatch, and pull it back towards you. When the cassette is full, there'll be a red light on there telling you to empty.